Let's try this again. Oh man, that was interesting. Just tried to record this episode of the podcast where we'll be talking about Hot D, but yeah, I was being a brick. I don't know. Too many long pauses for my liking, to be honest. But I just decided to delete that, restart it, and now we're back here. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the new episode of the Why Am I Here podcast with me, your host, Sani, where we'll be talking about season one, Hot D, House of the Dragon. And I'm here today because of the color black. And if you've been watching Hot D, then you know it's either black or green. And there are no in betweens, but if you are green, just stop listening. Dumb. All right. So, season 1, House of the Dragon. Um, I believe started off very strong. Usually for me, shows in the middle part of the season kind of fall off. That's where a lot of the exposition is given. But I feel like this season of House of the Dragons kept me thoroughly entertained. I was ready and waiting every Sunday to put that episode on the TV. And I don't know if it's because I missed watching Game of Thrones on Sundays or if the show was that good cuz thinking on the previous podcasts that I did with Squalla and Ziggy where we talked about the Rings of Power, I was not fully engaged throughout that watch through of the Rings of Power. This, on the other hand, loved it. I love the politicking. I love the game, and I love when people play it well. Few players of the game. Rhaenyra, heir to the Iron Throne. Alicent, Rhaenyra's childhood friend, who is I say friend in quotations because kind of friend marries your dad. It's a little I don't know why, but Alicent marrying King Viserys rubbed me the wrong way, more so than um, Daemon and Rhaenyra hooking up. And Daemon is Rhaenyra's uncle, but Daemon's fucking awesome. The Rogue Prince. That's a badass title to have. This dude does not give a fuck. He's single handedly my favorite character in the series so far, to be honest. Basically, because of his you don't know what he's going to do. And anytime he's on screen, he has such presence that he just demands your attention. I love that in a character, especially in a Game of Thrones fashion. I love that kind of character. And in the beginning, where you're like, "Oh, Damon really gonna die fighting in the Stepstones?" That was crazy. That was a really cool battle scene. I wouldn't say it matches a Hard Home or trying to think Battle of the Bastards or any of like the major battles in the OG Game of Thrones. But I feel like it was definitely a good introduction on how fighting in the series would be. because we have so many dragons. Dragons are nukes, pretty much. Straight, what are they called? Blackhawks. Straight Blackhawks flying around, just completely overpowering the common folk. I will say I need to give props to Patty Constantine playing King Viserys. What honestly, what can I say? It was probably the best performance besides Rhaenyra, um, Otto. The actor that plays Otto is very good at his role. Damon, Matt Smith's Damon is crazy good. I'm shocked Matt Smith's even playing a character like this. He usually I don't know, Matt Smith I know Matt Smith from Doctor Who, so I'm used to seeing him play a very different type of character. But I'm loving seeing him in House of the Dragon like this. This is great. But the primary conflict of this first season is pretty much Rhaenyra's legitimacy to be heir of the Iron Throne. Initially, it was Damon. Damon was the heir, but Damon just never really listened to Viserys like ever. And Viserys axed that idea and just gave it to Rhaenyra, which a lot of people thought it was just a slight Damon, but I believe in the one of the episodes, I forget in the first part of the season, he has this drunken moment when he's talking to Allison, and she doesn't really know what to say to him because he's breaking down. He's like, "Did I do the right thing, making Rhaenyra heir? Was that smart play?" But after that night of him doing that, he actually fortified in himself the idea of Rhaenyra being the heir to the throne. We have fucking Hightower. High towers, the greens as they come to be. Oh my god. I think I don't know if I hate Allison or Otto more. I think I hate Allison more, mainly because of the whole marrying your best friend's father thing. But fucking Otto Hightower is such a snake, a slithering snake. Who else? Who else is a snake? Laura Strong, snake, killed his brother and his father just to get on the good side of the queen. Allison, Queen Allison, devious. We have her sons, Aegon, who later becomes king after some finessing after Viserys' death. For one, I really want to talk about this. The misunderstanding of the song of Fire and Ice, of Ice and Fire. Allison, come on. Why are you listening to this man who's half alive and heeding every word? I mean, this dude could have had dementia, could have been out of his mind. But I mean, in the shot, he was he thought he was talking to Rhaenyra, who earlier in the episode asked, "Does she really think Aegon's song, the ice song of the Ice and Fire?" I feel like I'm butchering that name. Song of the Ice and Fire. Sound like a fucking robot. Oh god. But that happens. Completely lost my train of thought. But on to the second half of the season. The second half of the season, we get new characters playing Rhaenyra and Allison. We get the kids are a little older. I think this is when they're in that like 16 to 21 range, which is weird because they look I don't Amon at the end of the season is supposed to be 16 years old. That man, see how I said man? That man does not look 16 years old. But he does look like a badass, even though he copied he copied the Damon blueprint. He really did. He's Damon V2, but for the Greens, which is just an utter tragedy. He finesses Vagar, which is a huge win for the Greens. Loses an eye though, and he holds that resentment for Lucerys until the end of the season in the series finale, which we will get to. Uh, Lars Strong, weirdo. Allison, selling feet for information. Bold move back then. I don't know why he would find medieval times feet attractive. That shit's dirty as fuck. Even dirtier than nowadays. Like, come on. That shit's fucking gross. They don't even bathe properly. He's just fucking schmeating his geet. That scene was hard to watch. It's so weird that that was harder to watch than all of the incest scenes. I don't know if it's because Game of Thrones have just made incest okay, which I mean it's not. That incest is not legal in the real world and is very looked down on. But in the show, you're like, oh yeah, there you go, Rainier. Fuck your uncle. Like what? It's weird how that's okay. But in the later half of the season, we get this huge conflict where Vaemon Valarian, Corlys's brother, tries to seize power of Driftmark from Lucerys, who is the heir. I mean, Vaemon stated a very strong case. He was right. I mean, I'm not gonna say he was wrong, but the execution was a little poor. You can't just call the heir to the Iron Throne a whore and her kids are bastards. Say it with your chest in front of everyone and expect to live after that. I feel like he knew he would get killed. One, because if he thought he was gonna walk out of that room, then I completely misjudged that character, and he's actually just insane. Because that would have been wild. That would have been fucking wild. But the only reason he's doing this is because Laenor was everyone thinks Laenor was killed and Rhaenyra is complicit in his murder. The viewers know that Laenor is actually across the sea in Pentos with his gay lover, which we strongly support. 'Cause, it looked like Laenor was not feeling the fight for power, the fight for the throne, the whole Game of Thrones. He was just I don't know, it just seemed like he didn't wanna be a part of it, and I like how Rhaenyra and Daemon kinda came up with an idea to have him actually live a happier life, which is, hey, good on them. But now they're viewed as villains. Their enemies think they can have people killed pretty much. So in the end, it's all positive for the blacks. But back to Vayman, after the slanders and slights thrown at Rhaenyra, man gets his half of his head chopped off. Daemon says he can keep his tongue, and he fucking kept it. That scene was wild. That cut was so clean too. Like, I don't know if because he came in from the back and just cut off and intersected his mouth. So that would just clean off and you just see his tongue flapping out. Not really flapping, he was kind of dead, but you catch my drift. But that was crazy. And Renice was trying to tell him like, you can't do this. And when the king walked in so triumphantly, Viserys walked in like like an Elden Ring character, like grafted, climbed up there, had a great scene with Damon. Damon gets very few heart to heart scenes, but when they happen, I think they're very powerful and they're used extremely well in this first season. Can't even cap on that. But after Vamon's death, Luke becomes heir to Driftmark. Luke's kind of annoying about it, to be honest, because he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to be that guy, but he has to be that guy. And turns out, we find out he's not that guy. But before that, we have the Greens seizing the crown, crowning Aegon heir of Westeros, king of Westeros, rather, not heir. Actually, give him the crown of the Conqueror, Aegon, and Blackfire. They make this huge spectacle while they have Rhaenys kind of locked in there. Rhaenys escapes, hops on the dragon, murders so many small folk that was in the dragon pit for the coronation. Does not kill the Greens though, which comes up in the season finale. And Damon was like, "Why didn't you just kill them and end it right there?" And Rhaenys said, and this is how I figured. This is how I figured she would take it. She said something along the lines of, "It wasn't her war to start," which makes sense. She did have a little heart to heart with Allison, and she didn't want to fight. She doesn't want to fight. But when Rhaenyra finds out that they finessed her for the crown, she immediately goes into a labor and gives birth to birth gives birth to just slides out. Honestly, unfortunately, I was eating my dinner, watching a stillborn child slide out of Rhaenyra. That was gross. Thinking about it just almost made me throw up there. That was awful. That was terrible. And Damon's ready for fucking war. Damon's planning a war while Rhaenyra is in the other room trying to give birth. It gets muddy. We find out just how many dragons are actually in this world. It's like 20-ish dragons. A lot of them that are just unclaimed, just wild dragons, which is cool. That's a cool thing they introduced. I think they showed the second largest dragon. Looks like Damon tames it, so he has a new dragon. I'm not really sure how that works yet, but it looks like he did that. Corliss was on his deathbed, but when he wakes up, he at first, and it took some convincing from Rhaenys, which was a little interesting. Corliss Velaryon just gave up his ambition because he saw what's happened to his family. His son and daughter are dead. All he has is his grandkids, and that's where Rhaenys is like, we have to stick behind these kids. These kids are the future. They're very important, and they will help keep House Velaryon. And Rhaenyra is like not about fighting at all, which was smart. She said she didn't want to rule over bone and ash because when dragons go to battle, everything burns, which completely makes sense. Crazy. So she's trying to petition House Aaron, the Starks, and the Baratheons. And Jace comes up with the idea of having the dragon riders take these messages because what's more convincing than a dragon? So they go their separate ways. Jace goes north to the Vale and to Winterfell, and Luke goes to Storm's End, where House Baratheon has already met someone with another dragon. Let's say the biggest dragon. Aemon's there before Luke is there. And you realize that the Greens have really been planning this. I believe they brokered a deal with Boris Baratheon to have Aemon marry one of his daughters, which connects them to the throne pretty much. And they took it. And Luke, who was ill equipped for that situation, was like, I came here to remind you of your father's oath. Please keep it. Boris was like, what do you offer me? Nothing. Luke says, nothing at all. Just remember your oath. Like what? That didn't go Lucerys's way. And as Lucerys is leaving, Aemon just like he rips off his eye patch. He's got like a sapphire in his eye now. The eye that got cut by Lucerys in the previous episodes. And he's like, "Give me your fucking eye, bro. I need that eye. You're not leaving here without giving me that eye." And Luke's like, "No, I won't do it. No." And Aemon almost he tosses him a dagger to cut his eye, and then he's like, "All right, if you're not gonna do it, I'm gonna do it." He starts going after Forrest Baratheon's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, not in my hall, pal. You're messengers, not warriors. There should be no bloodshed in my halls." Sarah's, get the fuck out of here immediately. So he does, and the storm his tiny ass fucking dragon, Arax, Arax, I think it's called. Doesn't matter. It's dead now. Um, so this is interesting. Aemon, who rides Vagar, it looked like he would. It didn't look like he wanted to attack Lucerys. He was just mainly like messing with him, probably because he's still pissed about losing an eye, and he just hates Luke, and he hates that they're bastards. He just does not fuck with that. But he was just messing around too much. And Lucerys's brother, without listening to Lucerys, fucking pops out, breathes fire on Vagar. Vagar's like, what the fuck? Keep in mind, Lucerys' dragon is like a fucking ant compared to Vagar. So the Lucerys tries to make the great escape. Vagar stops listening to Aemon. Vagar comes out of the clouds and just fucking chomps Lucerys and his dragon, leaving pieces falling to the ground. What was I found hilarious about this, honestly, I kinda always didn't really like, the Lucerys character. He was too whiny. At least Jace is more like, I'm going to be king, like, I need to prepare." Lucerys is just he's not that guy. Turns out Aemon is, but did he mean to do it? You can see Aemon like, "No, Vagar, don't do that." And Aemon's face, oh my god, that fuck. That I fucked up face that Aemon had was absolutely priceless. But I mean, hey, it was it was good. It was a good season finale. I feel like this show is very well acted, just like Game of Thrones was. And they have some excellent talent. Emma Darcy is killing it as Rhaenyra. I've never even seen her in anything before. Matt Smith, big shout out Matt Smith. I love Matt Smith's acting. He's a great actor, and never thought I'd see him in a Game of Thrones property. To be honest, when his name popped up, I was like, no fucking way. And he's playing Damon the Demon, Rogue Prince, killing it, absolutely killing it. But this season, compared to the first season of Game of Thrones, I think this season blows Game of Thrones first season way out of the water. Mainly because it's a lot more condensed, but not like season 8 Game of Thrones condensed. Like shit's happening slowly, but what would take Game of Thrones 2 seasons, they did that in 1 season. They just broke it into 2 halves. Um, they do time skips outside of the big 10-year time skip between, episode 5 and 6, but it's I feel like it's handled well. It's not like 5 years later. You find out about the time skips in the dialogue amidst the characters. Wow, I realized I didn't even mention, can't even think of his name. I don't like him anymore, and I can't remember his fucking name for the life of me right now. Holy shit. What's his name? He's a knight. He banged Rhaenyra, and Rhaenyra was like, "No, I'm not marrying you, bro." And he turned so shitty after that. Fuck him. I mean, he doesn't even need a name. He's nameless, in my opinion. Like, how are you gonna do that? He's giving out straight incel vibes, bro. It's crazy. Calling her a spoiled cunt. Kristen Cole. Oh my god. Not gonna lie, I had to look that up. Hate that dude. Hate him, I hate him, I hate him. But it's looking like we might have to wait uh, upwards of like 2 years. I'm pretty sure it's gonna take them 2 years to return back to the land of Westeros. Especially because I feel like there's gonna be a lot of dragon fights in these upcoming seasons. So I feel like the season 1 to season 2 gap is gonna be longer than the rest of, the seasons. But we'll have to, wait and see till, House of the Dragon, Haunt D as I like to call it, comes sliding back into my life. Can't wait. But that about does it for this season 1 review of House of the Dragon. I gotta say it's a 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. It's weird watching this along with, The Rings of Power airing at the same time and having 2 very different experiences with fantasy. I definitely enjoyed House of the Dragon way more than Rings of Power. I just I feel like Rings of Power took the I can't even compare it to Game of Thrones because it's just not the same. The dialogue and everything, the politicking isn't even. It's hard to compare. But that about does it for this episode of the Why Am I Here podcast. Be sure to check out the previous podcasts where we reviewed season 1 of The Rings of Power. It's a banger of an episode. Loved it. Loved doing it with Squall and Ziggy. And the next episode will be the Halloween episode. I'm going to be talking about some horror movies I've seen this fall and even a Mike Flanagan horror series. And that's going to come out on Halloween day. So be sure to check that out. Thank you for listening and have a great day, night or evening wherever you are. Bye bye now.